Welcome back, Focus Learners. Today, we are opening a brand new case file in this explainer. We're diving headfirst into a real-world mystery based on Shalini Srinivasan's story, The Case of the Missing Water. And you know, this isn't just some simple tale. It's actually a brilliant look into geography, resource management, and the sheer power of analytical thinking, all wrapped up in a local village mystery. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to put yourself right in the center of a crisis for a second. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, walking to the sink, turning on the tap, and absolutely nothing comes out. Not a drop. And it's not just your house either. Your entire town's water supply has simply vanished overnight. What on earth would you do? How would you react? Well, this is the exact terrifying scenario facing the residents of a small village, and it really sets the stage for everything we're about to uncover today. Enter our protagonist, an incredibly sharp and observant young girl named Ranj. Now, instead of panicking like most of us probably would, Ranj immediately puts on what she calls her thinking cap. She walks down to the village's communal water tank and finds it completely dry. We're talking a cracked, dusty bed littered with dried reeds and dead fish. The water hasn't just dwindled down, it is entirely gone. It's a truly striking picture of sudden environmental loss.
And of course, before any real solutions can be found, panic sets in. People cope in very distinct ways, right? Ron's grandmother turns to a higher power, praying for rain. Her mother goes straight into hoarding mode, literally filling absolutely every bucket, pot, and vessel in the house, just in case. And her father? He takes a more physical approach. He grabs his tools and actually starts digging deeper into the dry tank bed, hoping to hit groundwater. They are all just trying to survive until the rains arrive.
Ranj, she takes a completely different approach. She stops and asks a crucial question. Where did the water in the tank go? Did it run away? Was it stolen? This is a mystery. She flat out refuses to just accept the situation. Instead, Ranj treats this massive environmental crisis with the exact same fierce, logical deduction she used when she found their grandmother's missing reading glasses marking a page in a book. She literally mutters to herself, "I'll find that water," and steps fully into her detective persona.
So let me ask you this directly. Why did Ranj need a thinking cap in the first place? It's a great question, because finding a missing water supply isn't exactly like looking for lost keys in your backyard. Solving complex geographical and environmental problems requires real logical deduction. You have to understand landscapes and trace causes and effects. She knows she needs a structured plan to figure this whole thing out.
And here's how that structured plan plays out. Let's trace her physical investigation. Step 1, she follows the dry stream bed downstream. She's logically assuming water flows down, right? But she only finds a fisherman with no water. Okay, step 2, she heads upstream, right past a goat herd, theorizing that maybe the source is blocked. Still nothing. Finally, step 3, she climbs up to higher ground, checking the tanks further up the hill. She is methodically ruling out possibilities, exactly like a trained scientist or a seasoned investigator would.
Which brings us to an incredibly ironic moment. Ranj bumps into her friend Sapna, who is literally sitting in a wooden rowboat, stranded on a completely dry, cracked riverbed. When Ranj vents her frustration that the water isn't upstream or downstream, Sapna casually points up and suggests looking up there. And what's up there? Just a white-hot, glaring, relentless sun. Everything around them is dusty and scorched. It perfectly highlights just how oppressive their environment has become.
And guys, the crisis is deepening rapidly. This scarcity is taking a severe social toll. We're well past a minor inconvenience here. The village school is now half empty. Families, including Ranji's good friend Manju, are packing up and migrating to the city where there's a more reliable water supply. For the folks who stay behind, the reality is grim. Ranji is forced to brush her teeth with the absolute last remnants of muddy, dirty tank water, which makes her spit it out in disgust, shouting, "Thoo!" The village is literally on the brink of collapse.
But right here is where our story shifts gears. It moves from being a simple mystery into the realm of practical science. Sapna announces she wants to become a sanitary engineer. Now, that's a professional who builds and maintains systems for public health. We're talking the people who design pipes, tanks, and drains. This brilliantly bridges our narrative into a crucial, real-world STEM profession. Sapna points out that they need to tackle this problem like real sanitary engineers.
So how do you actually apply that engineering mindset in the middle of a dry riverbed? Well, Ranj and Sapna get right down on the ground and use spatial concepts to literally draw a map of their village in the dirt with a stick. They mark out all the tanks and all the interconnecting streams. They are visualizing the entire water network of their region to identify any blind spots, places they might have just missed in their initial physical search.
Which leads us to ask, what are Ranjan and Sapna actually doing when they pore over this map in the dirt? They are utilizing cartography. By closely studying the map they just created, they are stepping back from the immediate panic to look at the macro-level geography. And let me tell you, this analytical pause pays off massively. The map reveals one final tank that they hadn't checked yet.
When they rush over to that final tank, the mystery is solved, but the tension spikes instantly. They find that the tank is, surprisingly, totally full, but right below it is a massive industrial water tanker truck. A thick hose is actively pumping the village's precious water out of the tank and right into the truck, while a man stands guard. The water didn't just run away, it is actively being taken.
What this uncovers is a classic real-world conflict of rural versus urban resource allocation. On one side, we have the village's need. Their tanks are drying up, schools are emptying out as people flee, and children are drinking muddy water. But on the other side, we have the city's demand. As the guard plainly states to them, the city simply has more people, and therefore they require more water. It's an incredibly complex socioeconomic clash over a finite vital resource.
But for Ranj and Sapna, the macroeconomics really don't matter in that moment. This is about their home. Delivering the absolute emotional high point of this explainer, Sapna shouts, "That's not fair!" The two girls physically throw themselves at the machinery. They're hugging the pump and threatening to break it. They are fiercely fighting for their village's survival, standing up against a system that is quite literally draining their livelihood.
And this brilliantly illustrates two completely different sides of problem solving. On the one hand, we have the quiet, analytical process of drawing maps and using logical deduction. But on the other hand, we have the intense, real-world confrontation over resource inequality that their analysis led them straight to. It shows how critical thinking and STEM skills can directly empower us to uncover and confront complex socioeconomic realities right in our own backyards.
But then, just as the confrontation reaches its absolute peak, nature intervenes. Suddenly, thunder roars, lightning slashes across the sky, and rain just pours down. "The monsoon is here," the girls chorus together. The rain falls in heavy sheets, overflowing the tanks and rushing down those dry streams, splashing them both. The immediate crisis is naturally and wonderfully solved by the arrival of the seasonal rains. The village is saved, for now. But that brings us to our final critical thought for today. Yes, the monsoon temporarily saved Ranj's village, acting as a sort of natural reset button, but we know we can't always rely on a sudden storm to save the day, right? So how can we conserve water in our own communities before the tanks run dry? It is a stark reminder that resource management isn't just some storybook conflict. It's an ongoing, daily responsibility for every single one of us. I highly encourage you to take a look at your own local water usage. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and remember, keep your thinking caps on.